Yeah.
Good morning, and thanks for tuning in to TMI Show with Ted Rall and Robbie West filling in for Manila Chan. We will spare you the usual introductory material, which, due to some technical difficulties, we were unable to get broadcast live, except to about 24 people on the internet. So thanks to you 24. Please stick around. As to everybody else, welcome aboard, and thanks for watching. Robbie, we have three main stories to talk about. Zorro Ranch. We'll be talking about the Sergey Brin, and one of my favorite weirdos, and naps and how they might kill you. Well, they might not kill you, but they might kill you. Who knows? They might be a sign that you're about to die.
Send me your Facebook link, if you would, because I'm looking. Oh, it's bad. Seriously, take a look. It looks like we're streaming off of a toaster.
Oh my God.
It is so. I would never watch this myself.
Really?
I'm just being straight up, completely honest with you. This looks like a steaming pile of offal from Epstein's ranch. Here I am, shit talking YouTube, saying how YouTubers are a bunch of pussies. They should just come over to watch on Rumble, and I wouldn't watch this on Rumble. It's so bad.
All right, hold on. I look good, actually. I'm looking at Well, at least I'm on Facebook. I'm looking at it now, and it does look good. You look bad.
Yeah, it's weird because you look kind of pixelated and grainy. It's actually running instead of running 60 frames a second. It looks like it's running like 50, which is crazy.
All right, I just sent you the link.
All right, let's see what happens. Y'all listen. Y'all come here for the troubleshooting. You're not here for stories. You're not here for analysis. You're here for whatever the hell this is.
All right.
So
you have the link, right?
Yeah. Hold on. I've got to do some swapping.
By the way, I didn't really realize this. It's kind of cool, but on Facebook, at least it gives you subtitles in real time.
Let me see here. 1 second here.
Please stand by. We should probably have like one of those technical difficulties shots from the 70s.
No, for sure. Why not? Right?
Seriously, I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah, to quote Man-Child, I still look like I'm in witness protection, but no, to hell with it. Let's just go. Yeah, I bet you what it is. I just realized my rifle is still here in my background. So if I'm trying to get blown up,
do you think that's
YouTube,
it? Really?
No, I think a StreamYard is just a stinking pile of crap. But no, it's not because of my rifle. It's because for whatever reason, StreamYard hates me. But that's fine. People are here for you anyway. You're much. Hold on, they're saying audio is out. 1 second.
Oh God. Okay.
Okay, we should have audio now.
Okay, now I really am putting this up there. I just want to see if it's possible. Hold on.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, this is the high quality content that y'all have come for. Let's just be honest.
There it is. There it is.
So,
that's actually useful to have.
Yeah, it is what it is.
All right. Okay. All right. So do we? Are we back here?
Yeah, we're back. I mean, hell, let's just go. I mean,
okay, let's do it. All right, here we go.
No one here expects this to be a professional show.
All right. Multiple young men were recently drugged and raped at Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch. That, according to a new report, which details harrowing accusations, everything from murder to stolen babies, at the pedophile's New Mexico House of Horrors. A man claims that he met Jeffrey Epstein and was brought to the ranch he was drugged. That, according to Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury, Democrat of New Mexico. She was interviewed by 60 Minutes Australia in, I don't know why not 60 Minutes the United States, because New Mexico is in the United States. He describes in detail a scene in which multiple young men were raped at the ranch in front of him after he was drugged, says Stansbury. Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were serial abusers. They really were super predators, and it was just how they lived their lives. It's unclear how Stansbury learned the excruciating details of the abuse, but her claims come as New Mexico is in the thick of an extensive investigation into Zorro Ranch, Robbie, have you ever heard of Zorro Ranch?
I've heard of Zorro Ranch. True News actually did an expose there. They actually sent a team there and actually kind of slipped onto the property and used a drone and a bunch of stuff and got a lot of footage. And I've heard of Zorro Ranch. It's probably second only to his temple there on his private island as far as just
in the Bahamas.
Debauchery, yeah.
Okay, so the probe was sparked in part by an anonymous 2019 allegations that Epstein and Maxwell strangled women to death during rough fetish sex and buried them on the ranch. Accusations that resurfaced with the release earlier this year of the tranche of files from the FBI's investigation into Epstein. That particular tip of men raped matched the pattern of other abuse and transport of trafficking of women, Stanberry says, and that's why it raised alarm bells for me. By the way, New Mexico, very, very dry place, right? Like, if there was disturbed earth, you can tell that from, you fly overhead with a helicopter, and the police can tell if someone's buried in the desert. They can find them, right? It's not like they're just gone. Anyway, there's certainly hundreds of allegations of women who experienced really dark experiences, she said. So I think we're really dedicated to getting to the bottom of the truth of what happened in New Mexico and on that property. Shantae Davies, who was photographed giving Bill Clinton a shoulder massage, told 60 Minutes that she spent countless hours feeling like a mouse in a trap at Zorro Ranch. There was a lot of time being in my room like a mouse in a trap, waiting for a knock on the door and for someone to say, "Jeffrey's ready for his massage now," she told the program, before explaining what that meant for her. Rape, full-on, forced-on sexual rape, she says. Davies also recounted stories of girls waking up at Zorro Ranch with doctors leering over them after having performed unknown medical procedures on them. There's another account of a baby actually being born and Ghislaine taking it, she said. I remember overhearing conversations about creating the perfect baby from the perfect gene pool. Similar allegations that Epstein wanted to turn Zorro into a baby farm to build a master race first surfaced after his arrest in 2019. Zorro Ranch was probably the most eerie place, just giant and quiet and literally in the middle of nowhere, and miles of just mountains and dirt for miles. She questioned whether the full truth will ever come out. Whoever it is that's covering it up has gone to great lengths to make sure it stays covered up. I don't think there will ever be a full disclosure of it all. Zorro Ranch was never fully searched after the federal government ordered New Mexican authorities to stand down in 2019 because there was no probable cause to search the ranch. Lawmakers like Stansberry are hoping to change that, telling 60 Minutes Australia she intends to make the Epstein files into Epstein trials. See what you did there?
Yep.
By the way, whatever you did with the Facebook, that seems to be working. It looks much better.
Well, it's nothing that I did. It's because StreamYard and X absolutely hate each other.
Yeah, so it seems like they get a little better with Facebook. All right, so that's good to know.
Burning hatred.
Anyway, so all right, here we go. So is this bullshit or is it real? What do you think?
I think it's bullshit.
Why?
Well, because what we know that Jeffrey Epstein liked the ladies a lot, and he especially liked young ladies a lot. I have not seen anything in any of the scraping I've done of the Epstein files have been released. Now, granted, we haven't seen them all. There's like 30 or 40,000 pages we haven't seen. So who knows? Maybe he was a queer who went both ways. But everything that I've seen, though, shows that he preferred women over guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it doesn't fit the pattern.
And to what do you attribute that? I mean, like this story, like this, the Zorro, where does this Zorro story come from? Like, what's the point of it? Like, why would people, is it just hysteria and people making shit up just to be in the news, or what do you think it is?
I'm sure it's probably part of it. And then if you have a society that has victimized classes, if one class feels like it's missing out on a chance of being victimized, then they will make up victimization just to be victims.
I mean,
yeah, if that makes any sense. Like, for example, if you have what they call a vulnerable group, like the LGBT2 SUV types. Well, if all the emphasis is on Jeffrey and Ghislaine abusing women, then you might start feeling kind of left out. Maybe you want to have some abuse too. Maybe you want to get in on that.
It's not strictly analogous, but it kind of reminds me how during the AIDS crisis in the early and mid 1980s, the message went out from, ACT UP and other organizers that basically it was HIV AIDS was as much of a threat to the heterosexual community as it was to the gay community. That's really wasn't true. Not even close, but they were trying. I mean, you could see what they were trying to do. Basically, they felt like nobody really cared. The government didn't really care about AIDS. So they were trying to get people's attention. It's like, well, maybe we'll get your attention if we'll point out the fact that you could get it too. And of course, it's not that it's entirely untrue. I mean, certainly straight people died of AIDS, but it's not, but it was not they exaggerated it. And so I wonder if this is kind of like, get in on the action too, or so. I mean, do you think this congresswoman is lying on purpose, or what do you think she's just? What do you think is happening, or is it just like New Mexico wants to be in the national news?
I think this congresswoman is just probably lying. I mean, I realize that that's a revolutionary concept of a politician lying.
It almost never happens.
But I mean, I think that's probably what it is, and there's so much emphasis on Jeffrey Epstein and on Pedo Island and on the Lolita Express. Again, there's no mention of men anywhere in this, like at all. No, Bill Clinton was not getting a massage from a male masseuse. I mean, let's just be honest. That's not happening. That's not his.
Bill Clinton is a straight dude.
Yeah. I mean that's not his vice. Jeffrey Epstein, from everything that I've seen, he didn't have those pictures with Trump at the parties. He didn't have butch guys walking around in there with thongs just advertising their junk. It was all women. It doesn't pass the smell test for me. It would be completely out of character. And I think that what this woman's doing is that she's trying just to gin up some sympathy. She's trying to, well, sympathy might be the wrong word. She's trying to jump some attention. And I think that if you have one marginalized class and they feel like that they are getting the short change on the national victimhood scale, then they'll try to reinvent it. It's kind of like what Al Sharpton did when he was wearing his pimp suit, walking down, was it Harlem, talking about the Jews back in the 80s, talking about the victimization of black people and stuff. I think it's just all this. It's just, it's a race to the bottom in the victimization Olympics.
Okay, I think I actually agree with that. The details are not that important, but yeah, I mean, so who owns Zorro Ranch now? Do we know?
Let me see. Hold on one second.
I mean, because someone must live there, right? Or I mean, if it was abandoned,
it's controlled by the state.
It would be searchable.
Let's see here.
I mean, unless it was seized, yeah. I'm just wondering about that.
Ranch in New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using Perplexity.
So
I'm going to do a title search.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Epstein's Zorro Ranch in New Mexico is currently owned by the family of Don Huffings, the Texas businessman and former state senator, through a limited liability company. So how you're talking about how a lot of famous people will have their properties owned by an LLC. The property is reportedly bought at public auction in 2023. Public records report says the buyer was the LLC linked to the Huffness family, and the exact ownership entity was kept private at the time of the sale. That same reporting says the ranch's valuation was later challenged for tax purposes, and Epstein owned it till his death in 2019.
Oh, interesting. And so, I mean, do you think he got it for us? This family got it for a song or what?
I don't know. Let's do some more research. What was the purchase price?
I mean, it's kind of brilliant, right? I mean, of course, it's also like freaky. Like, who really wants to live there? There's the photos of this place are unbelievable. It's so garish and ridiculous.
So it looks like Epstein bought it for $12 million, but to later resell after his death. The price is not publicly disclosed, though the asking price had been reduced from $27.5 million to $18 million before the 2023 sale.
So Epstein, if he was still alive, would have made a profit. probably.
Yeah. So, I mean, who knows, but somewhere around 18 million, maybe a little bit less, is what this Texas family owned.
All right. Weird. Okay. So basically he probably was just doing his normal weird shit, not like running a baby farm.
No, I mean, listen, is it possible? Yeah, sure. I guess it is. Anything is possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't fit the character. Now, for example, you can make a case for Ted Rall going to the stands and walking into a coffee shop that has been shot up because he wants to get a drip coffee.
Mm-hmm.
That's the established pattern. We've been there. That's happened. You can also make a pattern that Robbie West will attend churches on Sundays and on Wednesdays. That's a pattern. If Robbie and Ted were both going to a gay brothel in Paris, that would be out of pattern. So odds are whoever reported that story is probably, maybe, possibly making it up.
Agreed. Yeah, totally agreed. All right. With that, let's go on to Sergey Brin, who I should just point out, full disclosure, it's not much of a disclosure, but I was once staying at a hotel in Los Angeles during the time that there was this, he was carrying on this affair.
I've just got more. So this dude who bought the ranch, Don Huffins, he was endorsed by the American Jewish conservatives because they said he is a true friend of the Jewish people in Israel, and that they helped him get elected to the Texas comptroller position. So isn't it funny how all roads always go back to Israel and people wear very small hats on their very large heads?
Well, not all roads, but like Epstein roads certainly seem to go back that direction.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, right? I mean, so, I mean, seriously, why does everything always go back to Israel when it comes to Epstein?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. And I suppose if we had a real government that was interested in actually investigating him and what he did and the stuff around him, we would probably know the answer to that question.
Yeah. It's just, and it looks like also there are plans for turning the Epstein Ranch into a Christian Zionist retreat.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so let's just
get Christian Zionists. You can get an invite and you can infiltrate for us.
Yeah. I can assure you that would never happen, because all you have to do is search Robbie West, and probably the first thing you're going to see is Robbie West saying "fuck Israel." That's probably not going to happen. So let's see here. So. Again, y'all, if y'all have never used Perplexity, it's freaking awesome. I'm actually using my AI to build work the same way that it does as far as searching and research. Don Huffin said he bought the Epstein's former Zorro ranch to convert it into a Christian retreat, and has described the project as a means to bring light to a place he called a place of darkness. He also said He also said the plans have been in progress since the purchase, and that the ranch has been renamed the San Rafael Ranch.
Okay, well, San Rafael sounds more innocuous.
God, these people, they are sickening. So, I'm going to send you this link, Ted.
Okay.
Oh, and take a look at the Telegram while I do this. We got ourselves a donation.
Okay.
Cool. A rant from
a rant. All right, let's see.
From May Blue Funky.
Okay. Thank you very much.
It's on the TMI.
Okay. Yeah. Guys, just want to chime in. There was a young Mexican model who was disappeared because she freaked out and told people he was eating babies. There's a video of this. Probably not of the eating babies. Her family was told that they should not file a missing persons report.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just, I mean, and I always like to kind of look at patterns. I'm kind of like I'm a big picture kind of guy. Me and you were talking about that before deprogram.
Yep.
And you'd be surprised at just how many references that there were to cannibalism, especially when it came to eating children and newborn babies, just all over that island for all the people who were there. I 100% believe that happened. I believe those people were involved in satanic rituals. I think.
But babies have parents, so no parents don't report the fact that their baby's been kidnapped and eaten.
Not if you're a sex slave on Epstein's island and you get knocked up by one of your Johns.
And why would you want to eat a baby out of curiosity? I mean, really, truly.
A lot of older religions, a lot of pagan religions, and even that Hungarian princess used to bathe in the blood of children and virgins, thinking that the blood of virgins and children would help you stay young. So I mean, there's a big link to child sacrifice in the ancient pagan world, and these people are worshiping Baal. We know that. I think
the Baal stuff has yet to be proven.
No, I think that Moloch would be a better deity for what they were doing. But honestly, though, honest to God, I believe 100% that they were doing that.
All right, let's get into the next one. Sergey Brin, he's the co-founder of Google and one of the world's richest people. And you might remember that scandal he had where he was cheating on his wife or his girlfriend, I can't remember which it was, with one of his colleagues. And while that was all going on, he was on the lam from the press. And I just happened to blunder into him in the hotel elevator where he and his new girlfriend were hiding out. And they clearly had a very, very rough night. Like they looked like Iggy Pop. Anyway, Sergey Brin is growing more politically agitated, more willing to spend his estimated $273 billion fortune on elections, and is now moving to the far right of the Republican Party. Mr. Brin, 52 years old, didn't used to be very interested in politics. And when he was a liberal. He donated to a campaign to defend same-sex marriage in California back in 2008. He supported Obama running for re-election in 2012. In 2016, he called Trump's election deeply offensive in comments to Google employees, and then protested Trump's ban on immigration from several predominantly Muslim countries. In 2021, he started a nonprofit that has spent $88 million or more on climate and environmental policy. That's just 5 years ago. But now, like a lot of people in Silicon Valley, Brin has moved over to the right. With his outspokenly conservative girlfriend at his side, Brin has joined the ranks of tech executives courting Trump in his second term. In May, he attended a fundraiser featuring J.D. Vance and gave nearly $500,000 to the RNC, the Republican National Committee. In September, he told Trump at a White House dinner he was very grateful for the administration's support of big tech. This March, he was named to a White House Tech Council and donated to a Republican candidate for governor of California, who has subsequently now been endorsed by Trump. Brin is particularly pissed off at the proposal for a one-time 5% tax on California billionaires, of which he is one, and has emerged as Silicon Valley's leading combatant of the measure. To get away from the tax, or to try to, he moved before a December 31st deadline. Oh, I didn't realize you still had time to do this because we talked about this yesterday. So I made a mistake yesterday when I said that you would not be able to evade this but if it passed on time. So he moved before December 31st to the Nevada side of Lake Tahoe. He now spends every other week at Google's California headquarters, alternating with Nevada, a person familiar with the arrangement said. And he spent $57 million to try to oppose the measure, including $9 million more that came out on Friday. Brin said in a statement, "I fled socialism with my family in 1979 and know the devastating, oppressive society it created in the Soviet Union. I don't want California to end up in the same place." So wait, he's 52. So he was what, 7 when he moved? I mean, he's 10.
Yeah, he was a youngster.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't really flee socialism. He was the luggage of people who fled socialism.
No, for sure. And we've also got a couple more rants real quick. Then we'll get back into this. So maybe Blue Funky, once again, for the dollar holler. So the girls who used for sex were asked to have babies. Many of the women have testified to this. That's true. They have publicly. And then she says, guys, remember, if your random Jeffrey Dahmer is eating people, then is this really a stretch? I mean, she's got a good point. And then Peter with $2. If you're a 17-year-old pregnant girl on the ranch and you're told your baby is being given to a loving family, you may prefer to believe it.
That's a good point.
No, for sure.
And it's like, and a lot of people could say, like, I love babies with A1 sauce.
Yeah, but to say, I mean, the grill them. I mean, the meat just literally falls off the bone. So yeah, I know, right? It's just disgusting. But no, as far as this guy that we're talking about, whenever people say far right Republican, I got to wonder, what define your term? Is he far right, like Robbie far right?
Doesn't sound like it. He's just he's become a Republican. That's all. But I mean, to me, the real takeaway here is who cares about Sergey Brin, right? But like we've heard all about like Zuckerberg donating to the ballroom and to the inauguration and all that. I mean, these tech bros, like look at Elon Musk. He used to be a Democrat, now he's a Republican. I mean, it seems to me like these guys, a lot of them don't have much moral or political center. They basically just want to do business, and they'll suck up to whoever's in charge. And in a sense, that's kind of the embodiment of Mussolini-style corporatism, which is the merger of the state and under fascism with big business. And that's what's happened here, right? I mean, these tech companies are in deep with like people like Jeff Bezos. They're in deep with the government. And if the government's conservative, they'll do whatever that the government wants. If the government is socialist, they'll do whatever that government wants. I mean, all they're about is making money, and the politics are neither here nor there for them. But it does have a dramatic impact on us, because it basically means that it's really increasing the inability of the American people to make change on their own. You're always fighting inertia. If whoever's in charge can always count on billions of dollars in donations and support from outside non-democratic corporate sources, then if you organically are trying to fight for something different as a working class person, it's much harder.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing conservative about it. I mean, that word doesn't mean anything anymore. It's just like Sean Hannity, he'll go on and he'll say, I'm a conservative. In which case, I would laugh at his face if I ever got to meet that pig, because there's nothing. First of all, what in the current system do you want to preserve? That's the whole point of conserving something. There's nothing here to conserve. That's the whole point. I mean, you got to have a radical reset. No, what this guy is, he's an oligarch. He owns a nice chunk of government, and he has more money than he could spend in 7 lifetimes. And like every one of these greedy oligarchs, he wants more.
Right.
And what I don't understand is why.
I don't understand it either.
You can't take it with you.
I'm more like a Steve Wozniak figure, right? Like Steve Wozniak was a co-founder of Apple, and he famously didn't really, he's obviously walked away with millions of dollars, but he was never greedy like that. He got his initial take and then kind of walked away from it all and just basically lives his life and does what he wants. And he's been very generous. For example, one of the other Apple co-founders, who Steve Jobs, who was a dick, fucked over, Wozniak thought it wasn't right. So Wozniak gave a bunch of his own shares to this other dude, just basically to try to help him out. Like, hey, why should you just, Steve Jobs fucked you over? You shouldn't walk out of this with nothing. Here, I'll do it. I have more than enough money. And he seems like an example of like a guy who happened to become rich, but it never really corrupted him.
Yeah. And I think that's just the big takeaway is that these people, they don't have a moral compass. They don't have a center. Unfortunately, they have a brain. This would be a lot easier if they were stupid, but I don't know. It's just, I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. If I don't understand, Ted, how people on the Republican and Democratic parties cannot see past to the fact that they are both controlled by the exact same people.
I don't get that either. I don't get why people think, like why Democrats, for example, who are most of the people I know, they sit around there, oh, we just got to get Trump sucks. I'm like, yes, he does. We've got to get rid of him. I'm like, yes, we do. And they're like, what we got to do is get like Gavin Newsom in there. And I'm like, you think that's going to improve anything? Really?
Gavin Newsom is
you're just going to end up with a different kind of turd. He's a different brand of turd, but he's still a turd.
Of course. I mean, which end of the turd do you want to hold?
And then like when you get Gavin Newsom in there, Republicans will say, Gavin Newsom sucks. We've got to get rid of him. And people will be like, yes, we do. Yes, he does. And then it's like, they'll be like, we've got to get Marco Rubio in. It's like, Marco Rubio's a turd too.
Do you see a world in which a truly independent person could ever win the popular support of normal, average, everyday people that have the mental fortitude to break out of their plantations and actually vote their interests for once?
I think it can only happen under some very limited conditions. I don't think it can ever happen sort of normally, where it's just someone who's really great and really appeals to a broad base of the people can just happen to get there. I can imagine a situation where someone is really wealthy, billionaire, Sergey Brin, a Steve Wozniak type person, can build their own political party and basically buy the ballot access, buy the media access necessary to spread the message. And if that person happens to be great, then maybe, I mean, Ralph Nader kind of had this theory that someone like that could theoretically do that. Now, the problem is, of course, that 99.999% of the time, someone who has that much money is probably not going to be great and is probably not going to care about or be able to relate to the interests of an ordinary person. But is it theoretically possible to imagine? Sure. But it's like, how likely is it to happen? I mean, almost impossible, I think. What do you think?
Yep. I really don't know, because whenever you and JT were talking about Mali there in West Africa on the program, and talking about America's entrenched interests and stuff in the area, and I'm just thinking to myself, I can't find Mali anywhere on a map of the United States. No, I'm looking.
Keep looking.
And I don't see it. So I do not understand why the United States has a vested interest in it. Now, if France wants to go there, if the back-to-back loser of 2 world wars, who then gets bitch slapped by its former colonies, wants to go in there and try and pretend like it's a great power again, let it. More power to you. You can lose again, suffer another humiliating defeat. That's your prerogative. But for the United States, I don't see the interest, especially whenever our own country's falling apart. I don't get it. And what I would love to answer your question in a really long-winded kind of way, if we were able to get someone who's just able to kind of come in a really dumb, autistic, Trumpian kind of way, and just ask that question that I just asked, what's in it for us? If the answer is nothing, then sorry, the African Union can deal with it. If France wants to pretend like it's a great power, that's a real country, go ahead. Go with God. You can go there and lose again. It's entirely your prerogative. But as for the American people, the American military, and the American Treasury, we are going to invest in our own borders for the first time in 80 years. We're not involved with empire anymore. That person would win, because that person would be able to ask the question that no one in the ruling class is answering, and then the answer to that question is pretty simple. Here's a map of the country. We have these 2 big old honking oceans on either side of us. If it does not impact what's going on here, we are not involved in any way, shape, or form.
No, we are not.
No, the Mark Levins and the Republicans would be like, "Oh my God, you're an isolationist." No, I'm not. I want to trade with everybody. I want to release the sanctions with Iran. I want to trade with them. I want to buy their oil. I want to buy their natural gas. I want to send them movies from Hollywood. I want to do the same thing with the stands. Maybe we can have some cultural exchange. Nigeria has all this uranium. How about we do this crazy thing? We buy it. But we can trade. This is how this works. It doesn't always have to involve a rape.
True.
And that person, I think, would be able to win. The question is, who is out there that has the bully pulpit that's able to actually ask those questions? I would ask him, but who the hell cares about me?
Yeah, it's a valid question. All right. Well, let's move on to our last question here, our last story. Naps can be amazing. They can rejuvenate you in a number of ways, like boosting your alertness, reaction time, memory, and problem solving. Short naps might offset some of the damage wrought by sleep deprivation and might even be able to reduce your chance of getting dementia. But a new study suggests that in older adults, certain nap patterns can be a warning sign that you ought to pay attention to. Taking a lot of daytime naps, especially in the morning, is associated with higher mortality rates for older adults. This excessive napping may signal underlying or developing health problems and could represent a trackable metric for early detection. Our study is one of the first to show an association between objectively measured nap patterns and mortality, and suggests that there is immense clinical value in tracking napping patterns in order to catch health conditions early. That, according to author Chenlu Gao, a sleep scientist at Mass General Brigham. Previous research has also linked frequent napping with specific health problems, including hypertension and stroke, but the overall relationship is poorly understood. There's evidence of correlation, but little causation. Naps don't really promote the ailments with which they're associated, and they might be beneficial attempts to mitigate some pre-existing health problem. And despite strong evidence for a link between naps and illness, there are still key questions about the association due to limitations on the data. Excessive napping later in life has been linked to neurodegeneration, cardiovascular disease, and even greater morbidity, but many of those findings rely on self-reported napping habits and leave out metrics like when and how regular those naps are. Between 20 and 60% of older adults take daytime naps. Many are likely invigorating or at least innocuous. While excessive napping is linked to a range of maladies, further study of these links has been hindered by data that lacks objectivity and granularity. To try to fix this, Gao and her colleagues used information from the Rush University Memory and Aging Project. I didn't know that the Canadian band Rush had a university, but I think that's very cool. With Geddy Lee in his later years. Anyway, this began in 1997 as a cohort study of cognitive abilities and neurodegeneration in hundreds of over 55 people from Northern Illinois. The study incorporated wrist monitors in 2005 to record people's behavior over an average period of 10 days and differentiate between when they were moving around and when they weren't. Those activity monitors remained a feature of the ongoing study, contributing to 2 decades of available statistics from a total of 1,338 individuals by the year 2025. Equipped with this data on napping, the authors of the new study applied rigorous scrutiny to factors like nap length, frequency of nap, time of day of nap, as well as variability in people's daily napping habits.
I am dying over here. Have you looked at the Rumble chat?
No, I can imagine. I'm looking forward to it.
No, we're talking. People that are talking about. Oh no, they're still on cooking babies. And so
sorry.
Like, what kind of steak sauce would be the best thing to use for cooking babies? So being the troll that I am, I just asked perplexity. What is the most? I'm laughing, so I'm crying. What steak sauce would you recommend for this? And it's like I can't make.
You're now in an NSA database from hell.
Oh my God! I'm just laughing my ass off here. It's hilarious. This entire podcast is off the chain.
So all right, let me continue with the naps. Then you can get into your baby recipes. Personally, I would imagine parsley and garlic would help. It helps everything. Anyway. Let's see. Looking at napping patterns at the outset and all-cause mortality over 19 years, but what they found was that the longer and more frequent naps, as well as morning naps, mean that you're more likely to die. Each extra hour of daily napping means you have a 13% bigger chance of dying, the study found. Each additional nap per day is linked with a 7% higher chance of dying during the follow-up period. The time of the day seems to matter too. Mortality risk for morning nappers is 30% higher than those of early afternoon nappers. So if you're napping while you're watching this show, you're probably already dead.
Well, the thing is, if you listen, the way I want to go, honestly, is to kick off with my sleep. So I want to lay down and never wake up again, and just appear in heaven, and all is well in the world. I just hope I'm not dreaming about the best ways to cook an infant while it's happening.
And you'll have some answering to do on Judgment Day. If that's
100%. No, it's just completely wild. And God, I love the Rumble chat. It is just so. It's a man child. There's all kinds of things you can do. You can do with babies. Baby soup, baby salad, fried and grilled. Just think about it. I can't argue with it.
Babe.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as the naps go, the older I get, the more I've discovered I enjoy napping. I like it. Naps are great. I'm pretty sure that my 16-year-old son likes naps more than I do. I'm pretty sure he would sleep a solid 16 hours a day if he was able to. And I make fun of him because I get up and about 5 a.m, 5:30, provided I sleep at all. Usually I go to bed about midnight, get up at 5. I don't sleep very much. And so there are times in the day where I'll lay down and take myself a nice little nap. I enjoy naps. Naps are nice for me, pushing 50. Well, but I don't understand how a teenager can sleep 20 hours a day and still be tired and not die.
Well, they're growing, so they need lots of sleep. I just thought, I don't know. I thought this was an interesting story. Like if you're a morning napper, I mean, when I was, so I remember reading early about a study about napping and sleep patterns in college. And apparently college students are often studied for sleeping they're often the subject of sleeping studies because people think that college students have a better shot at arranging their own schedule than anyone else, right? Like they have flexibility in their classes and what time their classes are. I mean, I remember I was addicted to a certain soap opera and I used to like schedule classes around that soap opera, right?
Oh, which soap opera was it?
All in the All My Children. So it was at 1 o'clock on ABC.
So why were you addicted to All My Children? You've got to explain this.
When I was a kid, I was sick a lot. And I was home from school and there wasn't a lot to watch on TV. And during the day, back in the 70s, there was not much to watch on TV. And somehow at that time, something about that show and the way it was written and the characters that were in it just were compelling. So
is the drama aspect.
Yeah. Totally.
So what was it? Who's sleeping with who at the hospital or?
Well, yeah, that doesn't take place in a hospital. It takes place in sort of a upscale Connecticut-like suburb.
Gotcha. Okay. So I was thinking of General Hospital.
General Hospital, which I got into later. I lived in a girls' dorm and this was at the peak of interest in General Hospital where there was this, I forget the two characters, this guy with curly hair who looks kind of like young Art Garfunkel. That guy died recently, I think, who was like the big star of that. Anyway,
so were you using General Hospital as a teaching guide so you could do public exams?
No, I wasn't. No, my cheesiest motif was something which we used to all do this. Like, oh, you look really sore. Do you want a back rub? It's like, yeah, I'd love a back rub. And the girls would do it to the guys too. And that's how we tried to crawl into each other's pants. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But at least you came out of it with a back rub.
Yeah, I mean, hey, at least you got something out of it.
Yeah, true.
Or I did. But the people are not really interested in the napping story. Now they're talking about the Epstein cookbook and how it could be marketed by Martha Stewart. I mean, listen, we got to give the audience what they want.
Well, it's true. You could totally lay it on really thick. Like, do you remember the Preppy handbook? You could have like the Epstein handbook, like with how to worship to Baal, like how to make friends and influence people.
Ted, you should. Okay, I'm going to help you do this. I just came up with an idea. We need to come up with just a little pamphlet. You can publish it, sell it, whatever. And what we will do is that you can use a cartoon guide to authentic Moloch cuisine. And so I can. I'm telling you, we should lean into this. It'd be freaking awesome. Doing that. Oh God, it'd be awesome. Man,
you know what's going to happen is some fucker's going to do it, and then it's going to be on me.
Well, that's why you put in really big letters that even a retarded Canadian could see. This is satire.
Yeah.
And you could just draw Epstein and just have them like at a frying pan or at a grill, and you have this baby, and say, and you flip the baby gently.
Well, this is like a modest proposal, right?
Oh, no, I'm being straight up serious. We should 100% do this.
Well, you know what a modest proposal is, right? It's like Jonathan Swift. He was a satirist, and during the Irish potato famine, I think it was, he wrote a satirical essay suggesting that the Irish could resort to cannibalism if memory serves. People were outraged by this, and of course, he was joking. He obviously, and it was like one of those. This is satire. To this day, not everyone understands that it was satire.
Yeah. Bettina says this is not for us old people. And then Manchild says, I hope Bettina isn't watching because I mean, listen, this is edgy. I have to talk to Thomas because the thing about the younger generation, they have an incredibly dark sense of humor. It's kind of like the Black Death, the Mac Bear genre of art and stuff. It seems like that's where the youngest generation is right now. Instead of building churches out of human bones, though, it's just all Hitler memes and just talking about how the world's coming to an end. Mm-hmm. And I could straight up see them just getting into like the Epstein cookbook.
Well, yeah, so it's not the potato famine, but it's a 1729 essay by Jonathan Swift, who proposes that poor Irish people should sell their children as food to the wealthy to solve property and overpopulation.
I mean, maybe that's where Epstein got his inspiration from.
Maybe so. Yeah.
It's possible. Let me see. And dark humor, Robbie, is like you mentioned, when you need it, you work in a hospital, airlines. Oh, God, yes. Listen, if you work in an emergency room, if you don't have a dark sense of humor, you'll crack. The most warped and brilliant people that you're ever going to work with are people who work hands-on in emergency medicine or the ICU. Because they're cracked. Oh, and EMTs. EMTs are pretty wild, too.
So I guess no interest in the napping.
The chat gives. I'm telling you, Ted. Just look at the chat. There's nothing here about the napping. Manchild's like, I hope Manila's not watching because she has a freshly baked baby, which is the perfect age group for what we're talking about here. I mean, think of the brisket that you can make. No, what would you call a Lao baby? That like a brisket.
Something you'd have to make some kind of takeoff on Vientiane. The capital is Vientiane, so I don't know. I have to think about that. I'll chew on it.
Yeah, it's great. So wash, peel, and marinate your baby. This is wild. We have got the best people over here on Rumble,
or the worst. All right. Well, with that, I'm calling it quits here. We're done for the hour. TMI Show with Ted Rall and Manila Chan. Robbie filling in. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. We are here at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday.
Manchild is something. No, we got to keep going because we got like another 20 minutes. No,
we don't.
Yeah, we do. Because listen.
No, we don't. I'm out of here.
Listen, we have got to do honor to Manila by going over and repeating ourselves multiple times.
She's probably watching you right now. Don't criticize Manila.
I'm not criticizing. I'm making fun. There's a difference.
Okay.
And Manchild says allow BQ.
Yeah, I feel like we can do better than that.
Oh, for sure. Okay, y'all. But we need to come up with a good term for this particular menu, because I also want to get us
hearty hamon.
I also want to get us banned off of YouTube, so that way we never have
oh my God. Okay, with that, we're out. Okay, everyone. Bye, everyone. Have a good one. See you tomorrow.